let me read the rest of it, because like I say, we're not going to eliminate any part of the question. Mandatory vaccinations in order to receive the free public or private education, question mark. Also, what is your stance on the Healthy 2020 program, which requires mandatory vaccination for adults? Will you repeal the National Vaccination Injury Act of 1986 and hold manufacturers liable for injury? And Gabriella is also sharing some personal information. Is that okay, Gabriella?
Yes.
She says, I'm a parent of 2 vaccine-injured children. Currently, there is a CDC whistleblower by the name of William Thompson. He has admitted fraud and destruction of data that shows MMK vaccine?
MMR.
MMR vaccine, autism link. Will you, as a congressional rep, be the voice to help us subpoena him for a hearing? So, 277 for the children, and also for the mandatory for adults as well.
All right, let me answer the question first on 277, just so you're aware of this. Did you send me a Facebook post today? Was that you?
No.
Oh, somebody did, about this issue. And so I looked it up. And SB 277?
Yes.
SB 277 was the issue that came up last year in the California State Assembly and Senate about making mandatory vaccinations having vaccinations be mandatory. It passed the Senate 24-12, I think, and it passed the Assembly by 8 votes. The governor signed it into law. So now in California, if your child goes to school, a public school, they have to get a mandatory vaccination. There are some folks who believe that the vaccination is problematic, that it causes injury to the children, and so they oppose it. The person who sent me the Facebook post today made note that both Senator Roth, which is the senator here in our area, and also Senator Connie Leyva, who is a state senator up in San Bernardino, voted against the bill. Both of those 2 individuals have endorsed my candidacy, so I appreciate that. And I remember the bill coming up in front of the state and the assembly, and I remember thinking, boy, that's going to be a tough one. The argument for the bill is a public health argument for all intent and purposes. You want to make sure that kids that go to school and spend time with other kids in the district or in the school have been vaccinated so that other kids don't get sick. And then the other side of the coin is there's a religious view that some people don't want their kids vaccinated for religious purposes and things along that line. That's probably not an issue that would come up in front of the Congress because it is a state issue. But I gave it a lot of thought. I gave it a lot of thought last summer. And I probably come down on the side that it should not be mandatory. But if there is a circumstance where there is a disease that starts to go around that action needs to be taken to make sure that other kids don't get that. I think it's a very tough issue. I assume most of you here are parents. You love your kids. You don't want to see your kid, go through circumstance because of something that's mandated by the government. So it's a tough issue. Generally, you're going to find in most of my answers, I'm a progressive, let me just say that right off the bat, but you're going to find that I support a person's individual choice with respect to medical issues. So for example, I believe that a woman has a right to make her own decision about a reproductive health. So I'm a pro-choice person. And I think that kind of goes along there. There is the argument that I thought about, and that is cigarette smoking. I oppose cigarette smoking inside because that, even though one person smoking, that could have an effect on everybody. So I think that's a little bit of an inconsistent position, but nevertheless, I think that.
this concern there.
I grew up when polio was everything. And I had friends affected by polio. I have a friend who's paralyzed from the waist down because of polio. And this is a terrible thing, a scourge. And it could be spread if people aren't inoculated, if they don't have the vaccinations, we could have a polio epidemic. And the other things that have been eradicated in the United States are coming back. Whooping cough kills. So, if you go to school and you're not vaccinated and other children die, whose fault is that?
No, it's a tough issue. I agree. And I wish I had gotten the question a little bit earlier because I would have liked to talk to Senator Roth or Senator Leyva about it. But I certainly appreciate your position on that. And polio is a horrible, horrible thing that is, pretty much been resolved because of vaccinations. And so, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that SB 277 also affects private schools. A lot of people think it's just a public school issue. And so if I'm going to pay money to send my child to a private school, I don't understand why the government has to also tell me what I need to do with my child in regards to vaccines. And my other concern too is I know a lot of people always bring up the polio and the whooping cough and all that, but there is science that proves out there that these same vaccines we're getting carry viruses, live viruses. They last for about 2 weeks, up to maybe 5 weeks, and you're a carrier. So a lot of people think that because you're vaccinated that you're protected, but there is science. If you look up on the CDC, it's in there. It will tell you can be an asymptomatic carrier and you can still pass the whooping cough to other people, even if you've been vaccinated. If you look up the outbreaks that have been caused as well, they are amongst the vaccinated, not the unvaccinated. So I don't know if you've heard about the measles outbreak that was in Harvard. The majority of those college kids were all vaccinated. So there is something there. And my other main concern is we hear all the time is that an unvaccinated child is the one that brings the disease. That is not true. And my other concern is that I have 2 children with autism, okay? Everyone is concerned about the measles, but the rising rate of autism keeps going up and up and up every year. When my child was first diagnosed, it was 1 out of 108. That was 6 years ago. Now it's 1 out of 68. Where is the outrage in regards to that? That is my biggest concern when I hear about people that are concerned about outbreaks and things like that. Where is the outrage about 1 out of 68? And the way that it keeps going and going and going, we're going to have 1 out of 2 by 2032. What are we going to do about that? So I understand the concerns in regards to, things have been eradicated and all that kind of stuff, but we are also seeing rises in other things, ADHD, autism, eczema, autoimmune disorders.
No, you made the point. I appreciate the point. I don't know really what else to say about that. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I appreciate the point you made. So let me go here. There was more to that question, but let me go there very quickly.
We're doing more, with more science advances, the more that we recognize
there was more to that question.
There was?
Well, there was
Yes.
about something in 1986, which I may not be able to answer, but go ahead and ask it
You
again.
probably weren't born then, Jeff, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Will you repeal the National Vaccine Injury Act of 1986 and hold manufacturers liable for its
You know, I just don't know enough about that issue. So, if you send me an email or you send me a Facebook post,
I will.
I'll look into it and do some research and get back to you.
Okay.
I just don't think it's fair for me to answer a question I'm not completely. And again, as I said at the beginning, thank you. I don't know everything. So. Yes, ma'am.
What about the adult mandated vaccinations?
What are the adult mandated vaccinations?
She knows the actual.
There was a bill passed, SB 792, for all daycare workers, and then there's the Healthy 2020 plan that will pretty much come after all adults, seniors, everyone. You want to hold a job, you got to have certain vaccines. So just wondering what your stance is on that as well.
Again, I guess it's a state bill that went through the Assembly and the Senate here in California. I don't know enough about it to respond.
Okay. The Healthy 2020 is actually a national one, so I can send you information on that
Yeah,
as well.
please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Okay.
Okay. And then the last one was about the CDC whistleblower. I've actually tried to contact Ken Calvert. I've faxed him, emailed him, called him. I've done everything that I can to reach out to him. He is our Congress representative. We need Congress representatives to go out there and be our voice to subpoena this CDC whistleblower. I have yet heard anything from him, and I really feel, a little, hopeless that we're trying to reach out to our politicians and no one will respond to us in regards to this very, very important matter. So I want to know your stance on that.
Again, I don't know the specifics of the bill.
It's not a bill.
The law.
It's
the
the
law.
whistleblower.
I support whistleblowing, protection for whistleblowers. I absolutely support that. As a matter of fact, we do that in my job quite a bit. But let me make this point about that. One of the things that happens when you get elected to Congress is the Congress gives you a certain amount of money to build an office and put together an office. And one of the things that I'm going to do when I'm elected is I'm going to make sure that the majority of the money that I get is used here in the district. I'm going to have 2 offices here. I'm going to have one in Corona, one down in Lake Elsinore or Murrieta. And I'm going to have people on staff who do that type of, to answer constituent questions. That's going to be my main focus. As I've said to many groups before, when I need to be in Washington, I'll be in D.C. And when I'm not in Washington, I'll be in the district. You've heard of congressional junkets. Congressional junkets are trips overseas paid for by the taxpayers, in some cases by corporations, where they send members of Congress to go check something out in foreign countries. And a lot of times what happens is the member of Congress goes to the foreign country, spends a day doing whatever they're supposed to do, and then takes a couple of days on vacation. I will not take any congressional junkets whatsoever in my first term in Congress. So if I'm not in D.C., I'll be in the district. And we will have office hours. You'll be able to come in and talk with me. Now, there is one caveat, and I'm totally serious about this. You'll laugh when you hear it. I will be in the district or in D.C. except for 2 weeks out of the year when I promised my wife I would take her on vacation. I cannot get out of that. Thank you. Now let me add something. I also promised her I wouldn't bring my cell phone. I don't know if that happened. I'll probably bring my cell phone. Anyway. Rick.
Back on these concerns about
Yes, sir.
vaccines and what needs to be thrown in the conversation or genetically modified food. I think if there's a connection, that's great.
Yep. Yeah.
saying, well, it's going to cost more money for you to go to the grocery store. I mean, literally, all you got to do is change the label, which was not going to cost too much money. Whether you like genetically modified food or not, at least you know about it. And I think that's something that the corporations, Monsanto and the like, made a mistake. And I wish that had passed, but I'm with you on that too. So, okay.